if Eala, can keep doing well with her tennis, who knows? The sky's the limit on the court, off the court.
Is she the biggest draw in women's tennis right now in the world?
And then we have a big challenger after this.
Indian Wells opened its doors on March 4th, and before a single ball was struck in the main draw, before a single match had been played, before a single point had been contested on any court anywhere in the entire facility, a tennis expert had already gone on record and gone off. Not mildly, not diplomatically, completely and thoroughly off, calling out the WTA directly, publicly, and in detail for what he described as a staggering, almost incomprehensible failure to recognize and act on the most valuable marketing opportunity sitting anywhere in women's professional sports right now. And when you look at what is actually happening at Indian Wells this week, it is very difficult to argue with a single word of that criticism. The courts are packed. The grandstands are overflowing. The walkways are crowded with people who drove hours to be here. The largest Filipino community in the entire United States has descended on the California desert, and the atmosphere, by every account from everyone who has been inside that facility, has not even come close to hitting its peak yet. Alex Eala walked into this tournament as a seeded player for the very first time in her professional career, ranked 31st in the world. First round bye already secured, and the energy surrounding her presence here is unlike anything this tournament has experienced in recent memory. California is home to nearly 2 million people of Filipino heritage. Let that number sit for a moment. 2 million people. That is not a fan base in the traditional sense of the word. That is not a group of enthusiastic supporters who bought tickets and made travel plans. What is happening at Indian Wells right now is a cultural occupation of a tennis tournament. An entire community claiming a major sporting event as their own, because the player representing them has given them every reason to believe that this moment, right now, this tournament, this draw, this run, is something they absolutely cannot afford to miss. And the WTA, which has had a front row seat to this phenomenon building across multiple continents over the past several months, has responded with the sound of total and complete silence. What the tennis world is saying before we get into the full history of how we arrived at this moment, let's establish something clearly. The people raising these concerns are not fringe voices, not outsiders with an agenda, not commentators looking for controversy where none exists. Earlier this week, on one of the most widely followed tennis podcasts in the world, a group of former professional players, people who spent years competing at the highest level of this sport, who understand the business of tennis from the inside, who have seen what genuine star power looks like and what manufactured popularity looks like, sat down and had a conversation about Alex Eala that the WTA's entire marketing department needs to watch from beginning to end. The central question they asked was direct and uncomplicated. Is Alex Eala the biggest draw in women's tennis right now? Not the best player, not the highest ranked, not the most decorated. The biggest draw. The player whose presence at a tournament changes the atmosphere, fills the stadiums, generates the viral moments, and brings in audiences that nobody else on the tour is reaching. Bigger than Aryna Sabalenka, the world number one? Bigger than Coco Gauff, the Grand Slam champion, and one of the most recognizable athletes of her generation? The answer from the panel was immediate. Not qualified. Not hedged with conditions or caveats or diplomatic language designed to avoid offending anyone. Just yes. A clean, unequivocal, instant yes. John Isner, a man who played professional tennis at the highest level for nearly 2 decades and who understands better than most people what it means to draw a crowd, made the point that a lot of people in the tennis establishment have severely and consistently miscalculated how large the Filipino market actually is. Not underestimated slightly. Severely miscalculated. Those are strong words from someone who chooses them carefully. Sam Querrey went further. He said that if Alex Eala wins a Grand Slam, it would rank among the biggest moments in the entire sports world. Not women's tennis. Not tennis generally. The entire sports world. Consider what that statement actually means. We are talking about a moment that would register alongside the most significant sporting achievements in any discipline, in any country, on any stage. That is the scale of what is building around this player right now. Kim Clijsters, one of the greatest players in the history of women's tennis, drew a direct comparison between Alex Eala and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, The athlete whose cultural impact transcended his sport so completely that his name became shorthand for a specific kind of fame that almost nobody in any sport ever reaches. That is the comparison being made by one of the most respected voices in the game about a 20-year-old ranked 31st in the world. Martina Navratilova, speaking specifically in the context of Indian Wells, said it is critically important that ISA be protected from the intensity and the craziness that comes with everything surrounding her right now. When Navratilova speaks about tennis, people listen. And what she is describing is not a player dealing with ordinary levels of attention. She is describing a young woman navigating a level of fame and expectation and community pressure that requires active, intentional management by everyone around her. Rafael Nadal defended her publicly after she received online harassment following her Australian Open loss. Rafael Nadal, one of the most respected athletes alive in any sport, he stepped into a situation involving a 31st-ranked player he had no personal obligation to address, and he spoke up for her because what was happening to her was wrong, and because her story deserved better. She has appeared on the cover of Vogue magazine, without a top 10 ranking, without a WTA 1000 title, without a Grand Slam trophy to her name. Vogue, one of the most iconic and selective platforms for cultural recognition anywhere in the world, and they put her on the cover based entirely on who she is and what she represents, not on the trophies she has accumulated. Tournament directors, the people who actually run these events, who make the scheduling decisions, who determine which player goes on which court, are now being functionally forced to place her on center court at every stop, not because of her ranking, not because of her results, but because her crowds physically cannot fit into any smaller venue. That is something that simply does not happen with the 31st ranked player in the world. It barely happens with players ranked inside the top 5. And yet here it is, happening repeatedly at tournament after tournament on multiple continents. These are not fringe perspectives from minor voices on the edges of the sport. Every credible voice in tennis is arriving at the same conclusions independently. The phenomenon is real, it is documented, it is visible to anyone paying attention, and the WTA, the organization whose entire purpose is to manage, promote, and grow women's professional tennis, has responded to all of it with nothing. Melbourne, the warning that was completely ignored to understand the full scope of what the WTA has failed to do. You have to go back to January. Not to Indian Wells, not to Dubai, all the way back to the Australian Open where RT6, a mid-sized outer court. The first warning came, loud and clear and impossible to misread, and the organization watched it happen and learned absolutely nothing from it. January 19th. The Australian Open places Alex Eala on court 6. Not a show court, not a stadium court, a standard outer draw venue with a capacity of roughly 1,000 people. 1,000. The decision to assign her to that court was made by people who presumably had access to the same information that was available to everyone else. Information about her Miami run the previous year, information about the size and passion of her following, information that was not hidden or obscure or difficult to find. It was just sitting there, waiting to be acted on, and the people responsible for acting on it chose not to. What followed was, by any reasonable definition, complete chaos. The queue of Filipino fans outside Melbourne Park did not just wrap around the immediate area of Court 6. It stretched all the way back toward Rod Laver Arena, the main stadium of the entire Australian Open complex, one of the largest tennis venues in the world. Hundreds of people were turned away at the gates before a single point had been played. Not dozens. Hundreds. People who had traveled, who had planned, who had woken up that morning with every intention of watching their player compete, were physically unable to get into a court that seated 1,000 people because the demand was so far beyond what a 1,000-seat venue could accommodate. Those who could not get inside found outdoor viewing areas and watched on large screens. Inside Court 6 itself, there was not a single empty seat anywhere in the facility. Every inch of standing room along the courtside ledge was occupied. Every spot at the bar area overlooking the sideline was taken. Philippine flags covered the stands in every direction you looked. The chants of "Let's go, Alex" were so loud and sustained that the chair umpire was forced to call for quiet multiple times during points because the noise was genuinely interfering with play. Her opponent that day was Alicia Parks, ranked 99th in the world at the time. Parks is a professional athlete who has competed at major tournaments throughout her career and who is accustomed to playing in front of crowds with strong preferences. But she admitted afterward that the atmosphere inside Court 6 genuinely rattled her during the opening set. She told reporters she had to repeatedly remind herself to stay in the moment, to refocus, to block out the noise, because the wall of sound coming from the stands was affecting her concentration in ways she had not anticipated. Parks eventually won the match, 0-6, 6-3, 6-2, after being completely bageled in the opening set in front of that crowd. She came back and won, but she had to fight through something that no scheduling decision should have created in the first place. A prominent tennis coach went on record publicly after the match. He did not mince words. He said that tournament organizers should have seen this coming days before it happened, that the evidence was right in front of them, that ISA was already being mobbed during her practice sessions before the tournament even officially began, and those practice sessions are public, visible, documented, and impossible to miss. That was a clear and visible signal, and the organizers looked at it and still made the decision to put her on a court designed for 1,000 people. A sports journalist put it even more bluntly on social media that day. Putting ISA on Court 6 was just dumb. That was January. The Australian Open happened in January. The WTA was there. They saw it. They watched hundreds of fans get turned away. They watched the queue stretching back toward Rod Laver Arena. They watched the umpire call for silence over and over again because the crowd noise was disrupting play. They had every piece of information they needed to understand exactly what was happening and to plan accordingly for every tournament that followed. And then they went to Dubai. And somehow, they made it worse. Dubai, when the WTA turned a working system into a mess through the second and third rounds of the Dubai Tennis Championships, the tournament had, whether through deliberate planning or a fortunate accident, stumbled into a scheduling arrangement that worked extraordinarily well for everyone involved. ISA was closing out center court. Last match of the evening, every night. The format was simple, and its effects were immediately visible. Filipino fans arrived early. They settled in. They watched the matches scheduled before hers with genuine attention and enthusiasm. By the time ISA stepped onto the court for her own match, the stadium was already full, already loud, already electric. The earlier matches benefited from the crowd that her presence had drawn. The tournament benefited from the atmosphere that having a full stadium all evening creates. Every player who competed before her that night played in front of an audience that was there, engaged and making noise. This was not a complicated formula. It required no innovation, no special planning, no creative thinking. It just required leaving the arrangement alone and letting it continue to produce results that were visible to everyone. Then came the quarterfinals. ISA versus Goff. The WTA flipped her to open the night session. Not close it. Open it. Let us work through the immediate consequences of that decision, starting with the timing issue. Filipino fans watching from home in Manila are 4 hours ahead of Dubai time. A night session starting at 7 p.m. in Dubai means it is already 11 p.m. in the Philippines when the match begins. If that match runs for 2 hours, and competitive quarterfinal tennis between two talented players regularly runs for 2 hours or more, fans back home are watching past 1 o'clock in the morning on a weeknight. If the match goes long, if there is a third set, if the tennis is close and contested, those fans are awake past 2 a.m. That is the reality that the WTA created for millions of people who had every reason to want to watch their player in a major quarterfinal. But the timing issue was not even the most glaring consequence of the scheduling decision. The crowd consequence was worse, and any competent scheduler thinking clearly about what they had observed over the previous 2 rounds should have caught it immediately. The match placed after ISA's quarterfinal was Alina Svitolina versus Antonia Rybakina. Svitolina is a former world number 3. She is a multiple WTA 1000 champion. She is one of the most accomplished and respected players in the current game, with a career that most professionals would consider extraordinary by any standard. She deserved to compete in front of a full, engaged, energetic stadium.